Good evening to all of you. Today we begin our new video. This live session will be of three sections, and in section one we discuss the origin and source of the play, The Emperor John's, and in section two of this live lecture we will discuss the influence of psychology, or rather the influence of psychologists, and one of the most significant psychologists who influence Eugene ONeill is Carl Jung. So we are discussing the influence of Carl Jung in the second part of this live lecture. And in the third section of this live lecture, we shall discuss the scene wise. We will go for a scene wise analysis of the play, The Emperor John's. Now, let us commence our discussion of the origin and source of the play right now. So, we are just looking at we are discussing how Eugene ONeill got the concept of the play, The Emperor John's. And that is, of course, the origin and source of the plot of the play, The Emperor John's. So ONeill got the seed of the plot of the play, The Emperor John's, in a bar at the old Garden Hotel at Madison Avenue. Among the habitues of the bar was an old circus man who talked entertainingly. One night, this circus man talked about a man named Wilbrun Guillaume Sam. Wilbrun, Vilbrun, Wilbrun Guillaumes, Guillaumes, Guillaume Sam, Sam. So this circus man who comes to the old Garden Hotel at Madison Avenue used to speak in a very, very entertaining way. And he spoke about a man called Wilbrun Guillaume Sam, who had seized control of the island of Haiti. And as President Sam, he lasted about 6 months, and then the natives went after him. The strong, arrogant, superstitious, bold ruler had taken refuge finally in the French legation at Port-au-Prince. They will never get me with a lead bullet. They will never get me with a lead bullet. I will kill myself with a silver bullet first. Only a silver bullet can kill me, he told his fellows. This is what Wilbrun Guillaume Sams told his followers, and this uh, idea of the silver bullet is just helping him to control the natives of the island of Haiti. So he said, they will never get me with a lead bullet. I'll kill myself with a silver bullet first. Only a silver bullet can kill me, he told his fellows. O'Neill was fascinated by the plot of this happening, and with his personal knowledge and creative experience, transmuted this seed of the plot into a fine expressionistic play that is Emperor John's. The picturesque description of the dense forest introduced in the play came from his knowledge of the impenetrable jungles through which he had to pass in Honduras in the Central America when he went there as a gold prospector. He was bitten by the crawling snakes and vermins and insects and was disgusted with them. Besides this, O'Neill's introduction of the drum beating started at the rate of the heartbeats, rising later in order to touch the deeper chords of the hearer's inspiration came from his study of religious feats in Congo. O'Neill decided to use his knowledge for his play by way of an experiment and succeeded so very well. Now, this very concept of the very emperor of Wilbrun Guillaume Sam, which he got from the circus man who came to the old Garden Hotel at Madison Avenue, Emperor John's. Eugene O'Neill is making the plot of the play, The Emperor John's. Now, we move on to the second part of this lecture, and we are looking at the Jungian influence on Eugene O'Neill. That is, of course, this play is an expressionistic play. So, why does Eugene O'Neill make Emperor John's as an expressionistic play? That is, of course, he has been influenced by certain concepts in psychology, and the major influence is Jungian influence, and we are discussing the influence of Carl Jung on Eugene O'Neill. The Emperor John's is a deeply psychological drama. It delineates the psychological conflicts and the unconscious working in the mind of the hero Brutus Jones through expressionistic technique. It's a play of visions and psychological motivations. The mental processes of the hero, his visionary fears, feelings of guilt, and the conflicting motives have been portrayed. Hence, the stress is not so much on the conscious as on the unconscious. The scenic images and the symbolic use of the drum and the dark forest have enabled the dramatists to explore the mental conflicts and cogitations. The inner reality is suggested in dream-like fashion. The scenes are brief. They alternate between reality and fantasy. I mentioned it in the previous lecture also. This is, of course, a play which is having a confluence of realism and expressionism. First and last scenes are realistic, and the middle scenes, 6 scenes, 2 to 7, are, of course, expressionistic. So the scenes are very small. They alternate between reality and fantasy. Stage reality becomes subconscious and sources of conduct are explored. The use of the psychological time in the delineation of the past memories through flashback method is an important trait of the stream of consciousness technique. The language is colloquial and the flow of thought is continuous. Short, incomplete expressions depict the terrified and anguished soul of the hero, the Emperor John's. Further, the thoughts of his racial memories haunt and obsess him. With the help of his ejaculations and interjectional expressions, his deep-seated feelings have been shown very effectively. Thus, with his inventions of new dramatic devices like the sound effect, scenic images, setting, interjunctional expressions, and symbols, O'Neill makes this play very, very effective and so successful. O'Neill has followed expressionism, and the play bears a clear stamp of Carl Jung, the modern psychologist. The thematic basis of the play is apparently Carl Jung's regression to the primitive, to the racial unconscious. O'Neill has relied upon the Jungian theory of fears which grip a pursued Negro. The suggestion which excited O'Neill in the play The Emperor Jones was Carl Jung's fundamental premise, the existence and power of the collective unconscious. The mind of a given man contains ideas from the collective unconscious which come to him simply by virtue of his membership in the human race, as well as ideas inherited from his own specific race, tribe, and family. His mind contains, in addition, unconscious ideas and symbolic arising from his unique personal situation to make up the structure of his personal unconscious. Finally, from this personal unconscious emerges his own consciousness, his ego. So, under the influence of Carl Jung's theory of the uh, collective unconscious, and of course the very concept of the thoughts and feelings that uh, uh, remain in the mind of human beings, Eugene ONeill makes this play, The Emperor Jones, and we see the past of the Emperor Jones just haunting him. So he has been, Eugene ONeill has been very much influenced by Carl Jung in the making of this wonderful play, The Emperor Jones. Now we just move forward and we just look at the different scenes of the play The Emperor Jones. We go for a scene-wise analysis of the play. Yesterday I gave a very short summary of the play. Now we are looking at each and every scene, and we look at the summary of the scene of The Emperor Jones. And next video, we will be discussing the play. I'll read out the very play, and we shall have a line by line, a dialogue by dialogue discussion of the play The Emperor Jones. Now, let us have an idea of the different scenes of the play The Emperor Jones. I told you the other day that this play is of 8 scenes, and of the 8 scenes in the play, the first and the last scenes are realistic in the manner of O'Neill's many other plays, and the 6 middle scenes are expressionistic, consisting of monologues of Jones interspersed with descriptions of the great forest which forms the setting of the play, and which is almost an over character in it. So the forest, a dense forest, is also a character in the play The Emperor Jones, other than the on-stage human characters. So, like Thomas Hardy's Egdon Heath in The Return of the Native, it influences both character and action. The patterning of the scenes is both careful and deliberate, and can be briefly outlined as here, as follows. Right now, we look at scene 1. Scene 1 is, okay, the time is again very important. The time of scene 1 is afternoon. Afternoon, and the setting is the very palace of the Emperor Jones. So afternoon, the palace of Emperor Jones, realistic stage, dialogue between Smithers, a white Cockney trader, and Emperor Jones. We learn of John's past and his future plans. Character contrast has been effectively used to throw light on the central figure. The beating of the tom-tom is heard at the close of the scene, and it continues up to the very end of the play. John runs away as he knows that his subjects are in revolt. So this is the very opening of the scene. Realistic, Emperor John's palace. John knows the fact that his subjects are revolting, and he runs away from his palace. That is the very first scene. Now we move on to scene two. Scene two is nightfall. On the edge of the forest, Johns cannot find the food he had buried there. The little formless fears creep out from the forest, and he fires at them. As they vanish, he plunges boldly into the forest. That is very second scene, and understand that this scene is expressionistic. It doesn't happen in reality. This is something that happen in the collective unconscious, or the mind of the hero, the Emperor Jones. It doesn't happen in reality. But the spectators think that it really happens. But by the end of the play, the spectators also understand that no, it didn't happen. All this happened only in the mind of the hero, the Emperor Jones. And now we move on to scene three. Scene three is again night. It's the time is 9 p.m. and it is, of course, the setting is the great forest. In the great forest, John sees Jeff, the Negro he had killed for cheating at dice. So Jeff, the Negro, and Emperor Johns were playing dice, and he accuses Jeff of playing just cheating him, just using some tricks and decepting, accuses of deception. And later, of course, he killed Jeff. And now in the dense forest, Emperor Johns thinks that Jeff is standing in front of him, and he's very, very afraid of the ghost of Jeff, and he fires his second bullet. The vision disappears. That is scene number three. So he lost one bullet in scene number two. He lost the second bullet in scene number three. And now scene four. Scene four, the time is 11 p.m. Emperor Jones sees his fellow prisoners, and the guard he killed, the prison guard. The guard whips him. Emperor Jones tries to kill him with his shovel, but there is no shovel in his hand. Terrified, he fires, and the vision disappears. Okay, so that is scene number four. And in scene number four, Emperor Jones loses his third third bullet. Okay, now we move on to scene number five. The time is 1 a.m. It's after midnight. Emperor Jones finds himself in a slave market of the mid-19th century. As he is about to be auctioned, he fires, and the vision disappears. So one more bullet, the fourth bullet is lost. That is, he is just firing at the auctioneer. And now we move on to the one. He in fact loses two bullets there. He fires at the auctioneer, one bullet lost, that is fourth bullet, and he fires at the one white man, that is the estate owner. He is also firing at the person who is going to buy the slaves, and he loses two bullets there. The fourth bullet and the fifth bullet are lost. Now we move on to the sixth scene. 16 scene. The time is 3 a.m. It is 3 a.m. He is on a slave ship. This is Emperor John's on a slave ship. He is sold, and he is taken to the plantation. And there is, of course, the planters, and he is taken in a slave ship working with other slaves. Now he is, of course, very angry because he has been ill-treated by the planters, and he fires, and uh, fifth no the sixth bullet is right yeah, yeah, he loses one more bullet. That is, of course, the fifth bullet, right? This is the fifth bullet, right? In scene 5 he lost the fourth bullet, and scene 6 he loses the fifth bullet. That is, he is firing at the planter, right? And very soon the vision of the slave ship and the planters is just vanishing. And now we move on to the seventh scene. The time of the seventh scene is 5 a.m. Emperor Jones is in Congo, and he sees a sacrificial altar and a witch doctor. Witch doctor is a person who is practicing necromancy or black magic, and there is the witch doctor, a crocodile god, and the crocodile god is creeping forward towards Emperor Jones, and he is very afraid. So he has the sixth bullet right now, the last bullet in the pistol, and he takes the pistol and he fires the silver bullet to kill the crocodile god, and the bullet, the last bullet in the pistol is lost, and of course the vision is very soon disappearing. So all these visions, the so-called formless spheres, and the um, ghosts of Jeff, the ghost of the prison guard, the ghost of the auctioneer, the ghost of the planter, the very vision of the crocodile god. All this is just hallucination. This is not reality. All this is something that just comes from the mind of the guilt mind of Emperor Jones, and he fires at them, and he lost all the six bullets in his pistol. And now we have the last scene, the eighth scene. That is, of course, the realistic scene. Scene 8, early morning. It is dawn, the edge of the great forest, realistic stage dialogue between Lem, the chief of the tribals, the native tribal chieftain, and of course we have Smithers, the commander of Emperor Jones. And Smithers is a very interesting character because he has a very good relationship between Emperor Jones on one side and also with the native people and the chieftain of the natives, that is Lem. So he is being accepted by both of them, and he makes a lot of profit. He gets money from Emperor Jones, so also he gets money from the native people. So at last, when Emperor Jones has died, we see Smithers, the lieutenant of Emperor Jones, in conversation with native leader Lem, and we understand that Jones at last is dead. The natives also fire at Emperor Jones, and they use a silver bullet to kill Emperor Jones. And now Lem is going to be the emperor of the island. So that cruel, corrupt ruler is no more, and the natives of the island are free from the exploitations of such a brutal, cruel leader, Emperor Jones. And with that, the play comes to an end. And now we have to go for a very detailed discussion of the play, The Emperor Jones. We go for a reading of the entire play from scene 1 to, of course, the last scene, the eighth scene. So We will just commence the first scene today. Uh, Before reading out the dialogues, we will look at the characters. As we know, there are five important characters. Like we have Brutus Jones, the Emperor. The Emperor Jones is Brutus Jones. Then we have the Cockney Trader. Cockney Trader is Henry Smithers. He is, of course, from London, and he has come to the West Indian Island. He is a trader. He becomes the lieutenant of the Emperor Jones. And now the third important character is a native woman, an old lady, a native woman. And next we have the fourth character, Lem, the chief of the natives. And we have a lot of soldiers. Then besides, of course, we have a lot of formless fears. So these are the important characters of the play, The Emperor Jones. Now we come to the very scene one. First scene, we have very detailed background description of the scene. I'll just read out. The audience chamber in the palace of emperor, a spacious high-ceilinged room with bare whitewashed walls. The floor is of white tiles. In the rear, to the left of the center, a wide archway giving out on a portico with white pillars. The palace is evidently situated on high ground, for beyond the portico nothing can be seen but a vista of distant hills, their summits crowned with thick groves of palm trees. In the right wall center, a smaller arched doorway leading to the living quarters of the palace. The room is bare of furniture with the exception of one huge chair made of uncut wood which stands at center, its back to rear. This is very apparently the emperor's house or the emperor's palace, and that is, of course, the emperor's throne. It's painted a dazzling, eye-smitten scarlet. There is a brilliant orange cushion on the seat, and another smaller one is placed on the floor to serve as a footstool. Strips of matting dyed scarlet led from the foot of the throne to the two entrances. So this is the very first passage of the play. That is, of course, a description of the palace of Emperor John's. And we understand that the palace is on top of a hill, and there is the throne, the seat of the emperor. And of course, the palace is very elaborately decorated, lot of red color, the scarlet color. And now we will look at more details of the palace. It's late afternoon, but the sunlight still blazes lovely beyond the portico, and there is an oppressive burden of exhausting heat in the air. So it's afternoon. There is some hot, there is, of course, heat in the air. And as the curtain rises, a native Negro woman sneaks in cautiously from the entrance on the right. She's very old, dressed in cheap calico, barefooted, a red bandana handkerchief covering all but a few stray wisps of white hair. So we have an old native woman on stage. She's just walking very, very carefully. In fact, she's picking up certain things. She's stealing certain things from the palace of the emperor. A bundle bound in colored cloth is carried over her shoulder on the end of a stick. She hesitates beside the doorway, peering back as if in extreme dread of being discovered. So this old lady is so afraid, and she's just looking there and here. in order to ensure that nobody sees her. So she is just stealing certain things from the palace of the emperor. She begins to glide noiselessly, a step at a time, toward the doorway in the rear. At this moment, Smithers appears beneath the portico. So the palace of Emperor John's, an old lady is walking to and fro, just taking certain things. She's stealing certain things, and as she is very cautiously moving and picking up certain things and keeping all these things in the bundle on her shoulder, there enters the lieutenant of Emperor John's, that is the Cockney trader from a white man, is Smithers. Smithers comes, and we have a conversation between the old native woman and Smithers, the lieutenant of Emperor John's. Smithers, we have a detailed description of Smithers. Smithers is a tall, stoop-shouldered man, about 40 years. He is bald head, no hair, bald, bare head, perched on a long neck with an enormous Adam's apple. So his Adam's apple is projecting out. That's why in the plate is written that enormous Adam's apple. So he has an enormous Adam's apple, looks like an egg. Okay, so bald-headed, and his face is looking like an egg. The tropics have tanned his naturally pasty face with its small, sharp features to a sickly yellow, and native rum has painted his pointed nose to a startling end. So this is, of course, the very beginning of the play, The Emperor John's of Eugene ONeill. We have the curtain rises right now, and on stage, an old lady, native woman, is picking up things, and there enters the second character, that is Smithers. The Smithers enters, and Smithers is, of course, a trader from England. He is from London, and of course, he has been in the West Indian island for such a long time that he has been exposed to so much of sunlight that his skin is rather tanned, and he doesn't have that very fair white appearance, right? Because he is rather sunburned. And now we have Smithers, right? He's looking almost 40 years. That's the age of Smithers. Understand, Smithers has been an agent of the Emperor John's, and with the help of Smithers, Emperor John's, Brutus John's, was exploiting the people of the island. Now let us continue. So description of Smithers is still continuing. His little washy blue eyes are red rimmed and dart about him like a ferret. Ferret is, of course, a very ferocious flesh-eating animal. So like it is what is known as a polecat. So Smithers' eyes are compared to the eyes of a polecat or a ferocious animal. Now his little washy blue eyes are red rimmed and dart about him like a ferret's. The very appearance, cruelty is still there in the eyes of Smithers. His expression is one of unscrupulous meanness, cowardly and dangerous. That is the expression of Smithers. He is dressed in a worn riding suit of dirty white drill puttees, spurs, and wears a white cock helmet. This is the appearance. So his appearance of Smithers, he wears a suit of dirty white drill, like a soldier's, and again he has spurs and wears a white cock helmet again. Now a cartridge belt with an automatic revolver is around his waist. So he is, of course, armed. He has a cartridge belt, and he has also a revolver with him. He carries a riding whip in his hand. So he has spurs and he has a riding whip. And from this, we understand that, of course, he will be using horse, right? He is dressed like a soldier, like maybe an army chief. He has a weapon, and of course, he has a whip with him. So this whip, he'll be using this whip to punish the slaves. So also to with the horse he is just mounting when he wants to ride. Of course, he'll be using the whip as well. So this is the very detailed description of Smithers, the lieutenant of Emperor John's. Then, making up his mind, he steps quickly on tiptoe into the room. So Smithers enters the palace of Emperor John's. The woman, looking back over her shoulder continually, does not see him until it is too late. So the native woman is grabbing, snatching certain things from the palace of Emperor John's, and Smithers, the lieutenant of Emperor John's, is walking behind her. She doesn't see him. He is very close to her, and now he catches her. When she does, Smithers springs forward and grabs her firmly by the shoulder. She struggles to get away fiercely but silently. Now Smithers grabs her, catches her, and we have the very dialogue of the play. Smithers tightening his grasp roughly. Easy. None of that. Me birdle. You can't wriggle out now. I got me looks on you. Smithers catches the old native woman and he tells her, okay, things are not easy. You cannot just run away. You cannot escape me. I have been watching you, and now I have grabbed you. You are under arrest. All right. So now the native woman, seeing the uselessness of struggling, gives way to frantic terror and sinks to the ground, embracing his knees supplicatingly. Now that Smithers has grabbed and captured the old native woman, the native woman is just kneeling down and imploring to Emperor John's to free her. Okay, she's just pleading in a very, very humble way. No, tell him, mister. No, tell him. So look at that. This is the very dialogue of the native people. This is the very Negro dialogue of the West Indian people. Okay, so no, tell him means please don't tell the emperor. Please don't tell the emperor. So the old native lady is pleading to Smithers, the lieutenant, the army chief of Emperor John's. And now Smithers, with great curiosity, tell him, then scorn. Oh, you mean His Blooming Majesty? What's the game? Anyhow, what are you sneaking away for? Been stealing a bit, I suppose. He taps her bundle with his riding whip significantly. Now Smithers asking, tell him, not tell him. Tell him whom? Oh, you mean I must not tell the emperor? Okay, all right. Anyway, let me know what's going on. Why are you just running away like a thief? What's happening? And now Smithers is just tapping on the bundle of the old lady because she has just stolen something from the palace. So he's just tapping on her bundle, and woman shaking her head vehemently. No, me no steal. Okay, no, I'm not stealing. I'm not a thief. Smithers, bloody liar. But tell me, what's up? There is something funny going on. I smelled it in the air first thing I got up this morning. You blacks are up to some devilment? This palace of this is like a bleeding tomb. Where is all the ants? The woman keeps sullenly silent. Smithers raises his whip threateningly. Oh, you want? Want dear? I'll show you what's what. And now Smithers is asking the old lady, what's going on? What's going on? Where are all the servants of the emperor? Where are all the Negroes? Where are all the natives? No one is here. Why is the palace vacant? What's going on? Tell me. I think he says you blacks are up to some devilment. Okay? I think you black people are up to some black magic, some wicked thing. What are you going to do? Please explain what you're going to do. And the lady is still reluctant to disclose what's happening, and Smithers is threatening her. Tell me what's going on. And the woman coweringly, I tell mister, you know it. They go, all go. She makes a sweeping gesture toward the hills in the distance. And now the lady says, I tell mister, I'll tell you. Let me, you know it. Don't beat me. Don't hit me. They go, all the natives, they just go to the hill. And we understand that all the servants of Emperor John's, the native people, they are going to the hill in the distance, and they are doing the traditional pagan heathen ritual of seeking the help of the pagan gods, because they commence a battle that day. They are going to attack the emperor, and they need the blessings of their pagan gods, and all of them have gone to the hill in the distance. And now this old lady tells Smithers that all the natives have gone to the hill in the distance. Now, Smithers, run away to the hills. Have they all gone to the hills? Woman, yes, mister. Him, emperor, great father. She touches her forehead to the floor with a quick mechanical jerk. Him sleep after eat, then they go, all go. Me old woman, me left only. Now me go too. So this is what's happening in this afternoon. The Emperor Johns, had taken his lunch, and after his lunch, he normally sleeps for some time. So similarly, this afternoon, Emperor Jones had his lunch, and after that he slept for some time. Meanwhile, all the native people left the palace. All the servants of the palace left the palace. They have gone to the hill, and very soon they are just going to revolt against the emperor. And she tells that the old lady says that they go, all go. Me old woman, me left only. Now me go too. Okay, everybody went away, and I am alone. Now I am also going to the hill. I also want to join the group of people who are uh, fighting against the Emperor Jones. And now Smithers, his astonishment giving way to an immense mean satisfaction. Oh, so that's the ticket. Well, I know bloody well what's in the air when they runs off to the hills. The tom tom will be coming out there blooming soon with extreme vindictiveness, and I am bloody glad of it. For one, serve him right, putting on airs, the stinking nigger is majesty. God blimey, I only ops I am there when they takes him out to shoot him. Is still there. All right, Andy. Now, this is the very reaction and response of Smithers to the old lady. The old lady says that all the native people are protesting against Emperor Jones, and they went to the hill to begin the war against Emperor Jones. Smithers is responding that he's very happy about the what's going on. He says that he's very happy. Well, I know bloody well what's in the air. I know what's happening, and I'm quite happy about it, because Emperor Jones, Brutus Jones, is a bloody stinking nigger. He's such a rotten, very rude Negro. He has been exploiting the people. He's such an ugly man. I want him to ruin. And I'm glad that the native people are going to revolt against him and the woman. And the Smithers is also wondering that Emperor Jones is still sleeping, and he's asking the lady, "Okay, is the emperor here in the palace?" And the woman, "Yes, him sleep. Yeah, he is sleeping." Smithers is bound to find out soon as he wakes up. Is cunning enough to know when its time come. He goes to the doorway on right and whistles shrilly with his fingers in his mouth. The old woman springs to her feet and runs out of the doorway near. Smithers goes after her, reaching for his revolver. "Stop, stop, or I'll shoot." Then stopping indifferently, "Pop off then, if you're like your black cow." He stands in the doorway looking after her. And now Smithers is just whistling, and as he's whistling, the old lady is running away, and he is following her with his pistol. She's just running away, and now we have the very appearance of Emperor Jones. Now that Smithers whistle with his fingers in his mouth, this the loud shrieking voice of the whistling of Smithers wakes up the Emperor Jones, who was just sleeping in his palace. And now we have the very background of the play. Jones enters from the right. Is a tall. This is the first time we see Emperor Jones on stage. Very detailed description of Emperor Jones here. Jones enters from the right. He is a tall, powerfully built, full-blooded Negro of middle age. In his 40s, his features are typically Negro, yet there is something decidedly distinctive about his face, an underlying strength of will, a hardy, self-reliant confidence in himself that inspires respect. So Emperor Jones is very, very well built, full of confidence, very strong, and his eyes are alive with a keen, cunning intelligence. In manner, he is shrewd, suspicious, evasive. He wears a light blue uniform coat sprayed with brass buttons, heavy gold chevrons on his shoulders. So Emperor Jones is in fact the emperor, and he wears the uniform of an army chief, just like a general. He has the uniform of a military general. He wears a light blue uniform coat sprayed with brass buttons like the stars on the shoulders or the collar of generals. Emperor Jones also has brass buttons, heavy gold chevrons on his shoulders, gold braid on the collar, cuffs, etc. His pants are bright red with a light blue strip down the side, patent leather lace boots with brass spurs, and a belt with a long barreled pearl handled revolver in a holster complete his makeup. Yet there is something not altogether ridiculous about his grandeur as a way of carrying it off. So very, very arrogant, confident, well-built, tall, uniformed, having weapons with him. Emperor Jones is on stage. He was having a nap. Now that Smithers has whistled, Emperor Jones just woke up, and he's just stepping onto the stage, very confident, very arrogant, doesn't care for anyone, and he's very angry that somebody has disturbed his sleep. And that is, of course, Smithers whistling. Now let's listen to Jones. Jones, not seeing anyone, greatly irritated and blinking sleepily. "Who dare whistle that way in my palace? Who dare wake up the emperor? I'll get the hide fralled of some of you niggers shall." Okay, so he's very angry that somebody has whistled, and he's asking who is that Negro who made noise and disturbed the emperor. And he says that I'm just going to get that Negro and strip him. I'll just skin that Negro. Very angry. This is the normal behavior, temper of the emperor. Very angry and arrogant, and he was also very, very brutal and cruel. So that is Emperor Jones. Now we continue, and we have Smithers responding to the very angry voice of the Emperor. Smithers showing himself in a manner half afraid and half defiant. It was me whistle to your. Johns frowns angrily. I got news for you. And Smithers says, it was I who whistled. I have to tell you something very important. I have news for you. Johns, putting on his suave manner, trying himself to be very, very pleasant, which fails to cover up his contempt for the white man. So Emperor Johns is Negro, but Smithers is a white man, London from London. He has a Celtic blood, and Smithers shows his contempt for. I'm sorry, Emperor Johns, the Negro, shows his arrogance and shows his contempt for the white man. Oh, it's you, Mr. Smithers. He sits down on his throne with easy dignity. What news do you go to tell me? Okay, what's it? What's the matter? Why did you whistle? What news do you have to tell me? Smithers, coming close to enjoy his discomfiture. Don't you or notice nothing funny today? Okay, haven't you noticed anything funny? The question is, there isn't any servant in the palace. The palace is empty except for Smithers and Emperor Jones. So, don't you notice anything funny? Can't you see the change, the difference? Jones coldly. Funny? No, I ain't perceived nothing of the kind. I haven't seen anything funny. I didn't see anything. What's the matter? Then you ain't so foxy as I thought you are. Okay, and Smithers says, then you aren't so clever as I thought you are. I thought you are very clever. And I understand you are not as clever as I thought. Where is all your court? Where are your servants? Sarcastically, the generals and the cabinet ministers and all. Where are your generals? Where are your cabinet ministers? Where are your soldiers? Haven't you noticed that? Jones, imperturbably, not at all moved. Where they mostly runs the minute I close my eyes, drinking rum and talking big down in the town, sarcastically. How come you don't know that? Ain't you sousing with them most every day? So Emperor John says, oh, they must be drinking when I am asleep. Weren't you drinking with them? Weren't you? They could be just telling stories and drinking and making fun. And now Smithers, stung but pretending indifference with a wink. That's part of the day's work. I got to end in my business. Okay, so drinking and making fun is part of the work, isn't it? So Smithers is responding to Emperor Jones, and Jones contemptuously, your business? Is that your business? Is that your work? And Smithers imprudently enraged. Smithers is also, God blimey, God, it's in fact a kind of curse. God blimey, God help. You was glad enough for me to take you in on it when you landed here first. You didn't have no high and mighty ears in them days. And now, flashback. Smithers says, oh, Johns, I helped you come to this island. And those days, when I helped you come to this island, you were not arrogant like this. You were humble and you were better person. Now you are arrogant. You are very, very cruel, and you don't care for me. So look at this. God blimey, you was glad enough for me. You are happy with me when I took you to the island. But now you are very mighty heirs. You have mighty heirs. Mighty heirs means you are arrogant. And John's, his hand going to his revolver like a flash menacingly. So when Smithers tells that Smithers helped Emperor John's come to the island, and tells that Johns was very friendly and helpful to Smithers in the past many years ago when he landed on the island, and rather when Emperor Johns is being reminded of what happened in his life, Johns is taking his pistol and is about to threaten Smithers. So uh, Emperor Johns, his hand going to his revolver like a flash, menacingly. Talk polite, white man. Talk polite. Speak politely. Talk polite. This is, in fact, the very dialect of the Negro people, the slaves, the native people of West Indies. Talk polite. You hear me? I'm boss here. Now is your forgetting. Understand? I'm your boss. So speak in a very good way. Speak polite. I'm your boss. The Cockney seems about to challenge this last statement with the facts, but something in the other's eyes holds and cows him. So Smithers is very angry suddenly, but now when he looks at the eyes of Emperor Jones, he loses his courage and he is becoming more and more submissive, and he controls his anger. That is Smithers, and Smithers speaks in a humble way, in a very polite way, in a cowardly whine, speaking like a coward. No, I meant, old top. Oh, I don't mean to hurt you. I don't mean to. Of course, I don't mean anything bad. Oh, old top. No, I meant. I don't. No harm. I don't mean any harm. Okay, respectful emperor, I respect you. Okay, old top means I respect you. Johns, condescendingly, in an obliging way, I accept your apology. Okay, okay, yeah, yes, I forgive you. I receive your pardon. I accept your apology. Lets his hand fall from his revolver. No use in you raking up old times. Okay, why should you speak old stories? Is Jones is asking Smithers. What I was then is one thing. Okay, so many years ago, I might have been, of course, a very ordinary person. Okay, so but now I am the emperor. So why should you say old stories? No use you raking up old times. What I was then is one thing. What I is now is another. Now I am the emperor, and what I was many years ago is again a different story. You didn't let me in on your crooked work out of no kind feeling that time. I done the dirty work for you, and most of the brain work too, for that matter. And I was worth money to you. That's the reason. Okay, remember, why should you say the old stories? You wanted my help and I helped you. It's with my help you made a lot of money. Now I am the emperor. So why should you say old stories? So through the conversation between Emperor Johns and Smithers, we understand how Emperor Johns became the emperor of the island. We have a lot of flashbacks in the conversation between Emperor Jones and Smithers. And Smithers right now. Well, blimey, I give you a start, didn't I? When no one else would. I wasn't afraid to hire you like the rest was. Count of the story about your breaking jail back in the States. Okay, so I helped you in the beginning. I helped you. Nobody was ready to accept you, but I helped you. And I didn't tell your story to the natives of this island. You were in prison in United States of America, and you just ran away. You killed the prison guard, and you ran away from the prison. But I told no one. I didn't tell anyone. I know your story. I helped you start this emperor journey, and now you are the emperor. So you should remember all that. John's, no, you didn't have no excuse to look down on me for that. You've been in jail yourself more than once. Okay, Smithers, you don't have to look down on me. You don't have to speak about my being in prison. You yourself were in a prison, Smithers. So from this, we the spectators understand that both Emperor Johns, Brutus Johns, and Smithers, both of them were in prison sometime in the past, and they of course escaped from prison, Emperor Johns as well as Smithers, and they came to this island, and they have been befooling the natives of the island, and Emperor Jones became Emperor Jones, Brutus Jones became Emperor Jones, and Smithers became the lieutenant of Brutus Jones. Now Smithers, furiously angry, it's a lie. Then trying to pass it off by an attempt at scorn, gone. Who told you that fairy tale? So Smithers says that you say you are lying. I was not in prison. You were in prison, but I was not in prison. Who told you that fairy tale? Which is the fairy tale? The tale that Smithers was also in prison. And so now Smithers disagree with Emperor Jones that he was in prison. Jones, there is some things I ain't got to be told. I can see them in folks' eyes. Then after a pause, meditatively, then you should give me a start. You sure give me a start. And it didn't take long from that time to get these fool wood sniggers right where I wanted them. From stowaway to emperor in 2 years, that's going some. Okay, so now Emperor Jones tells Smithers, yes, you Smithers, you help me. And from stowaway to emperor. So now from stowaway means a poor man. I was a poor man. So from poor position, I have become an emperor right now. Yes, you help me. Now I am an emperor, and I became an emperor in 2 years, and that's going some. That's going some means that's something remarkable. So my progress from a stowaway, a poor man, to the emperor, this progress in 2 years is something remarkable, something formidable. Smithers with curiosity. And I bet you got your pile of money in some safe place. Yeah, you not only became the emperor, I also understand that you have piled up lots of money. That is again true. Emperor Jones has taxed the people of the island, and he has deposited all the money somewhere in a European bank. We understand that maybe a bank in France. Now, Jones, with satisfaction, I sure has. I have. I have saved enough money, and it is in a foreign bank where no person don't ever get it out but me, no matter what come. You didn't suppose I was holding down this emperor job for the glory in it, didn't you? Sure, the fuss and glory part of it, that's only to turn the heads of the low-flung bush niggers that's here. They want the big circus show for their money. I give it to them and I get the money with a grin. Do long green, that's me every time. Then rebukingly, but you ain't got no kick again me. Smithers, I paid you back all you done for me many times. Ain't I protected you and winged at all the crooked trading you've been doing right out in the broad day? Sure I has, and me making laws to stop it at the same time. He chuckles. So very long dialogues between Smithers and Emperor Jones. Emperor Jones tells Smithers that, yes, you helped me start this Emperor journey, and don't forget the fact that I also helped you. You as a trader with my help, amassed a lot of money. I, with your help, of course, deposited a lot of money, became the emperor. So we have helped each other. And don't forget how I helped you. And Smithers grinning, but meaning no harm. You've been grabbing right and left yourself, ain't you? Look at the taxes you have put on them. Blimey, you have squeezed them dry. Okay, so but you have what you have done is something very, very ugly. You have taxed them, you have put on them too many taxes, and you have squeezed them dry. So this is what Emperor Jones has done. He has taxed them, taxed them, and he squeezed out money from the natives of the island. And he told them that he cannot be killed by a normal bullet. And now, having suffered too much of the brutality of Emperor John's, the native peoples, they are protesting against Emperor John's this very day of the play. John's chuckling, no, they ain't all dry yet. I still here and I. Okay, and he says that the native people, they are in dry, yet they still have money. I want to get more money from the natives, says Emperor Jones. And now Smithers, smiling at his secret thought, they are dry right now. The native people, they don't have any more money with them. They are dry right now. You will find out, changing the subject abruptly. And as for me breaking laws, you have broke them all yourself just as fast as you are made them. And now Emperor Jones also accused Smithers of breaking laws, and Smithers retaliates that, yeah, I may have broken laws, but you you have also broken laws. You made a lot of laws, but you made a lot of laws for these people of the island, for the natives of the island. But you have broken so many laws yourself. So how can you blame me that I have broken laws? So from this dialogue, we understand that these two people, Emperor Jones as well as Smithers, did a lot of nasty things. They have been exploiting the people of the island. And Jones, I, the emperor, the laws don't go for him. You hear what I tells you, Smithers. There is little stealing like you does, and there is big stealing like I does. For the little stealing, they gets you in jail soon or late. For the big stealing, they make you emperor and puts you in the hall of fame when you cross. If there is one thing I learned in 10 years on the Pullman cars listening to the white quality talk, it's that same fact. And when I gets the chance to use it, I winds up emperor in 2 years. And now we have everything here. Emperor John says, I am the emperor. And yes, I have been uh, making money. I've been making money. And you hear what I tells you, Smithers. Okay, I am the emperor. Smithers, you have to obey me because I am the emperor. And there is little stealing you does. You are also stealing, and you are stealing little things. I am stealing big. Okay, you are stealing little. You are stealing, you Smithers, you are stealing small quantity. I am stealing bigger quantity. Okay, and for your little stealing, you will be in prison because I am the emperor. If you question me, you'll be in prison. But for my big stealing, I am the emperor. So this is the difference between Smithers and Emperor Jones. And now Smithers, unable to repress the genuine admiration of the small fry for the large. Yeah, yes, yeah, turn the bleeding trick. All right, blimey. I never seen a block as the blooming luck you us. Okay, you are very lucky. and I haven't seen any person like you. You are very lucky, and it is because of luck that you have become the emperor. And Smithers, no, John's luck. What do you mean luck? You say I'm lucky? What do you mean by luck? I suppose you will say as that song about the silver bullet ain't luck, and that was what first got the full blacks on your side the time of the revolution, wasn't it? Weren't you lucky? So when you came here, the native people were revolting against you and all people like you, all the settlers. But you, with your story of the silver bullet, just controlled them. So that silver bullet story helped you. And wasn't that just luck? So Smithers is helping the spectators and readers understand the fact that it was, of course, the story of the silver bullet that helped Emperor John's become the emperor. And John's, that silver bullet sure was luck. Yes, yes, that silver bullet was luck. But I makes that luck. You hear? I lost the dice. Ash. When that murdering nigger or lamb hired to kill me takes aim 10 feet away and his gun misses fire, I shoots him dead. What do you hear me say? Yes, I made my luck. Lem was aiming at me from 10 feet away. He fired at me, but the bullet didn't hit me. But I killed him. Lem, the native, and I became the emperor. I told them that I have some divine power that I cannot be killed by a lead bullet. And yes, that you say that's luck, but I made that luck. I became the emperor. And Smithers, you said you have got a charm so as no lead bullet would kill you. You were so strong, only a silver bullet could kill you. You told them, blimey, wasn't that swung for you? And plain, fat-headed luck. Okay, you told them about the silver bullet. You told them that no lead bullet can kill you, and you became the emperor. Wasn't that luck? Wasn't that story lucky? Wasn't that story which made you lucky? Okay, so the conversation between Smithers and Emperor Jones continue. So Smithers is a character, Eugene ONeill, very, very cleverly made for the readers and spectators to understand the past of Emperor Jones. Jones proudly, I got brains and I used them quick. That ain't luck. Okay, so now John says that it is not luck, it's my brain, it's my intelligence that helped me become the emperor. Your no, their ways, there was in hardly liable to get no silver bullet, and it was luck. He didn't hit you that time. Okay, so your story of the silver bullet is just a uh, uh, simple, silly, trivial story, and it was luck that helped you. Okay, so we are just halfway through scene one of the Emperor John's. This scene, the opening scene, is rather lengthy, and we are just halfway through scene one. We'll just wind up the discussion today here. We'll continue the discussion of the remaining part of the scene in the next live lecture. Thanks a lot for listening. May God bless you. Bye bye. Good night.